Okay, so ignoring the fact that I look like I am kidnapped in someone's basement, I am so sorry. I am terrible at long form content, but today I'm gonna break down color theory for you. Now, color theory is something where you can create this, ooh, pretty, or where you can create this. Basically, you can use color theory for everything, and you do not have to be an expert. You don't have to be skilled at art. It is so simple, very simple, if you just understand the basics. So now that I have this really boring, atrocious intro, let's get into it. Ever heard of color theory but have no clue what it means? I'm back and I'm so sorry it took so long. I am terrible at long form content, guys. I'm so sorry. But I am back to break down the basics of color theory and how to use it to elevate both your art and how I elevate mine. I use color theory in almost every one of my drawings now. Feel free to look through my socials and join my membership to see how to put it into practice, but it essentially helps understand how colors interact. If you're new to art or just practicing up on it, the color wheel is essentially your map for choosing colors. You have 3 primary colors that make everything up: yellow, blue, and red. Between them are the secondary colors, green, purple, and orange. Now, what we call complementary colors are the ones that are across from each other. These are high contrast and they go well together. Analogous colors are the ones next to each other. These are calmer and they work more harmoniously. Using either of these relationships can help build contrast and have depth with blending. Now, there are warm and cool colors as well. The warm colors are red, orange, and yellow. Think more fire, while the cool colors are green, purple, and blue. Think of water. Using different types of warm or cool-toned colors can also create a different effect when you're drawing. So let's test out coloring using complementary colors, more warm colors versus analogous, the more cool colors, by drawing a tomato. So again, as I said, think of warm as fire, the energy and a brightness. Cool colors are, cool, calming, relaxing. That can also have an effect on the art that you draw. If you want something with a lot of energy, you probably won't have mostly cool tones. On the complementary, the warmer side, I'll start with yellow for the highlights. Now, even colors within warm or cool tones can have their own tone as well. That gets a little more difficult. But for my green colored pencils, I have ones that have more of a cool undertone and are less bright or close to orange and yellow, and they appear more blue. Even though green is a cool color, some of the shades might look more bright compared to others. I add in the dark green for the shadows and leaves. Then I go in making a gradient of lighter greens. And no, the tomato is not going to be green, but you can use complementary colors for a base layer, basically meaning red's complementary color green. So once I color over it and blend with the red, it'll have more depth than just using a red color. Again, there are warmer and cooler shades of red, so I'm coloring with more bright red. You can see I go over some of the red with the green and keep layering it until I get the color that I want. And there you go, a beautiful tomato using complementary colors. But now let's see what it looks like using analogous colors, or colors that are closer to red, meaning purple. Okay, so similar to the first, I'm going to start with yellow, but then I add purple and layer those until I start to blend with red. I even add some blue to the darker parts of the leaves. I continue adding the layers until you get this delicious tomato. So this is similar process, but it's using different colors and clearly different results. The left side is a warmer, brighter tomato, but the right side is a cooler, darker one. But both of them still end up as red tomatoes. Have you ever wondered how to blend dissimilar colors? Let me show you how to blend the complementary colors, so the high contrasting colors, from a dark to light gradient with more depth. First up is red. You can use its complementary color, which you find on the color wheel. Again, these are the ones across from each other. So for red, its complementary color is green. But apply less pressure as you move towards the light side. Then, color over with shades of red. I still use dark red and light red, but I use green for the darkest area as an underlying layer. The best way I find is to blend initially using light pressure. Then, go over multiple times with the different colors. And after you layer a bit, start adding more of the pressure so you get a cleaner blend. I'm going to start by applying that to the darkest area. For orange, I do the same, but I start with blue. For yellow, start with purple. And now you'll do the opposite for the complementary colors. So for green, you'll start with red. For blue, start with orange. And for yellow, start with purple. Now let's practice with another example. I want to show the difference between using complementary and analogous colors. If I color a leaf, I can mainly use red, the complementary color, as a base layer. Or I can use the analogous color, blue. For both, I'm going to start with yellow for the highlights. This is more of a personal preference, but you'll probably see me always using yellow to start. Then, I'll use red as the base for the darker areas and color over with the range of greens. Like the warm tomato, it's brighter. But if I use blue first and then color with shades of green, the leaf ends up looking cooler. Again, they're both green, but they end up different results. Now practicing shading. Okay, shading and blending are super important for colored pencils, and I want to show the difference between just using one color versus why we're using these complementary and analogous ones. So let's start with a sphere. When you start coloring, I generally assume that the light is coming from the top right, and I use my darker colors to the bottom left. So I start with a darker color to line the bottom left edge of the circle, and I curve it up like a crescent moon. Leave some white space for the light's reflection. That's actually really important for colored pencils, is sometimes just coloring over white does not do it. You need to actually leave the paper white, if that's the kind of paper that you're using, and so it'll be easier to blend into the reflection. So start with using less pressure for a lighter color. Continue to add color and make the bottom edge darker. So it'll essentially be a sphere gradient, lighter colors in the top right, darker in the bottom left. Just using the one color is vibrant and it has some depth, but it's not the same as using complementary or analogous colors. This is where you start to see other colors come in and it looks a little less flat versus just one color. Start the same process, but swap blue for orange on the base layer. Then add over different shades of blue and then add more orange until you get this, a sphere with darkness and depth. I mentioned this a couple times, but colored pencils are all about pressure. I will say it again. It is all about pressure when you're coloring. When you're blending, when you're coloring, you cannot press down hard and expect colors to blend. I don't know, maybe there's some magic colored pencils where you can, but in general, you need to start with light pressure. Yes, the pigment's not going to be a bright orange or a bright purple, but you're supposed to build up the layers. If you start with a dark purple pressing as hard as you can, there is no way you'll be able to blend it naturally into an orange or a yellow. Instead, it's all about layering these colors and adding more pressure with more layers. For blending yellow into the base layer of purple, let's look at that. I applied light pressure for the purple. It's visible, but not dark or too vibrant in color. That way, I can press harder using the yellow to create more of a gradient and blend it out. Versus, on the other side, if I use too much pressure and make the purple super vibrant and too visible, it is in no way that I can do going to blend out, and it's just gonna look like I put yellow on top of purple and it's gonna look weird. Trust me, I do that sometimes. It gets very frustrating, even when I don't mean to, but it's really hard to come back from that. You can always add more pressure, you can't take it away. Anytime you use colors, a palette is definitely helpful. To be honest, I am terrible at matching things. The color wheel is so helpful for this. But still, I suck. But a palette is helpful to know what colors work best and go together. Oftentimes, the warm versus cool or complementary or analogous colors will affect what your background is. You can see here that the red will look different with a blue background or a yellow background or even a green background. It really depends what you want to stand out. And that's it. Basically, those are the essentials of color theory. Now, yes, it gets more complex the more you use it, but these are the fundamentals. These are the basics, meaning this is what I started with, taught myself everything else. It is not difficult, just practice, and it'll be amazing. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. Hopefully, I will start getting these videos out more often because trust me, I know it sucks. It's been like 2 months. 2 months of you guys waiting and me being such a procrastinating, lazy piece of... Anyways, but thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want me to go through and subscribe for more.